What's going on, everybody? EricRayweather back here with some more Madden 21 news for you guys. A little bit of news that's kind of going under the radar a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but some stuff that I wanted to keep you guys up to date with. Sean Grady, the executive producer of Madden, did an interview with GameSpot about a day ago, and he touched on a few things, some things that happened in the beta that they've made some adjustments to or he's further speaking to. He also made another statement about franchise mode, which I think some of you will be happy to hear. That'll be a little later in the video. He kind of made another statement regarding franchise and kind of somewhat of the plans over the next few weeks and things to kind of look out for. And just some other little things that he briefly touched on, like face of the franchise and things of that nature. So I'm going to get into that in a second. That's my dog right there. You know, she's over there. I'm looking the wrong way. She wanted to make a debut in the video. But if you are interested in all the other Madden 21 news, next week, tons of ratings, information, new playbooks. We're going to get some gameplay very soon, possibly next week as well. If you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe to the bell icon so you don't miss any of those uploads. We just hit 277. We're going crazy right now. Just running up the subscribe button. I appreciate you guys. So if you're new, you're kind of a lurker, go ahead and subscribe, join the family. We're all nice over here. We love to see you guys. And shout out to Eric's burner account in the comments section, going hard every video. I see you, my guy. I appreciate you. So let's get into today's video. Okay, so first I want to talk about yesterday's leak, the Yard, the new game mode, before we get into the Sean Grady portion of the video. If you missed yesterday's news, if you've been under a rock for the last 24 hours, I'll link that video below. But basically, some people got into the beta after it was closed off. There was a new game mode that everybody saw, and yesterday we were kind of speculating on what this means, what the Yard actually means. And then some more stuff leaked later on in the day that confirmed that this is a new game mode. It is actually a backyard style game with backyard rules. It's 6 versus 6 where you can play against your friends to earn rewards and stuff for your superstar players. So basically think something similar of like NBA 2K's My Career. It probably won't be as in-depth as that, but you have your face of the franchise guy, you play through the story, you get into the league, but now you can actually take that guy online, which is what so many people have been asking for. The career mode, the face of the franchise stuff is cool, but in today's era, we want to take that guy online and use our own player to compete against other players. So now you can do that in the backyard. It looks like it's going to be some type of a loose form of maybe an NFL Street. The weird thing is EA has said nothing about this, and this is a huge change to the game. Like we've all been saying, this looks just like Madden 20, not much has changed. This is actually a huge change to the game. I'm not sure why they haven't marketed it yet. I'm thinking maybe possibly it could be a post-release type of thing like Superstar KO was last year, where it comes out a few weeks after the game. But I guess we'll find out more in the coming weeks now that it's leaked. EA is going to have to put some news out there about it, and I think they've been working on this because this isn't something they could have just whipped up in a few months. But the fact that 2K has their deal with the NFL to do arcade style games now, it makes even more sense for EA to try to get this out maybe quicker than they had intended to get it out, so they could beat 2K to market and have, you know, an arcade style NFL Street type deal inside their own game that people can play too. So just wanted to kind of touch on that a little more. We did get more info on it. It is going to be a 6-on-6 NFL Street-ish type mode. When we find out more about it, I'll let you guys know every step of the way, but I just wanted to kind of put that little bit of extra info in today's video. Today's video is sponsored by HelloFresh. No matter what's going on in the world, everyone's got to eat, and HelloFresh makes that process much easier. My favorite thing about HelloFresh is how delicious the recipes are, and not only is the food good, but they have a ton to choose from, something for everybody, even me, somebody who is extremely picky. HelloFresh also saves you a ton of time, no shopping, no stressful meal planning, they got it all covered for you. And I must say, I was actually really surprised at how easy these meals were to cook. I've never cooked a day in my life. My experience really doesn't go beyond putting frozen food in the oven, but this was actually a very easy process. HelloFresh is also very flexible to fit your lifestyle. You want to add more lunches or dinners to your weekly order, you want to skip a week when you're not in need, they make all of that very simple for you. Use my code RayWeather80 to get $80 off, including free shipping on your first box with purchase. Go to HelloFresh.com to redeem and for more details. Again, that is code RayWeather80 to get $80 off, including free shipping at HelloFresh.com. Now, like I said, Sean Grady did this little bit of an interview with GameSpot. I'll link it in the description if you want to watch the whole thing, but I've kind of condensed it down for you guys, kind of broken down just the most important things that he touched on. So one of the things gameplay wise he spoke on was the ball carrier, the new skill stick that they kind of brought back. Remember in the old days we had the highlight stick? Well, now they kind of brought it back, called it the skill stick. added a few new moves. So, you know, from playing the beta, I can kind of attest to some of these things he said here. You know, you can better chain moves together. It gives you more control over your ball carrier, which is what we all want. We want control. We want to be in the field making the moves. We want to make people miss. The skill stick is a little bit better of a version than the previous, you know, stick moves that we did have. Like I said, you definitely can chain those moves together. That was kind of the idea behind it. But one of the big things he touched on was the fact that they had the new, of course, dead leg, which is nice, which is back on the joystick. I mean, like clicking it back or, you know, towards you on the joystick is how you do that move. But they also added a jurdle, which was like a combo juke hurdle, if that makes sense, where it's more of a sideways hurdle, a little bit more of a relevant hurdle to today, whereas you don't always see people just try to straight up jump clean over a player. You see it sometimes, not too much, but they kind of wait for a guy to try to hit low and then they try to side hurdle them and jump over them from like a side angle. So that's what the jurdle was. You can kind of combo the juke and the hurdle together, and they put that on the joystick, and by doing that they removed the truck stick from that and made the truck button the Y button. Now everybody hated this in the beta. Nobody liked it that I could see. It was one of the biggest complaints even before the beta. When we just saw that they changed the control to this, we were all like, no, what are you doing? We don't like controller change. We hate it. If you're a game company out there, we hate controller change. And if you're gonna do controller change, give us the option to map the controller ourselves so we can change it back if we want to. However, in this interview, Sean Grady did drop a little nugget of information that was really good to hear. He said that they have since moved the truck stick back to the joystick, so I'm assuming that also means the hurdle is now back to the Y button. Said there was something they were kind of experimenting with in the beta, but a lot of people just didn't like it, so they took that feedback and they just kind of reverted it back to the old system. So you can still do a jurdle, it's just gonna not be on the joystick now. And of course the truck stick, it's just going up on the joystick to truck is just so natural. It just feels right, you know, for lack of a better term. So moving that away from it was never a good idea. Glad to hear that they have actually moved it back since the beta. He also spoke on the new throw out of the sack mechanic, because this was another thing a lot of people complained about, myself too, saying, you know, it's nice to be able to throw out of the sack, but it really wound up in more interceptions than anything else, because there were a lot of times I felt that my guy should just be taking the sack, but the ball was coming out. And what he said in this interview is really something I can't disagree with, even though I'd rather them kind of clean this up a little bit. But he said now it's more of a decision of, do you want to try to get that ball off or do you want to take the sack? Whereas before, you kind of were forced to most of the time just take the sack. Even if your arm was all the way at the release point, your guy would pull it back and take a sack, and it was frustrating. Now you kind of know that even if you're like, if you get to that point, you're going to release it, or even if you're a little bit closer to that point, you can still release it while you're getting hit. So now, from what he was saying in the interview, it kind of sounds like he's putting it on us now to say, you're going to have to make the decision whether you want to hold on to that ball or try to force it out, because what he said was true. When you do try to throw out of a sack, a lot of times that does lead to very bad passes and interceptions in real life. I can't really disagree with that, but I would just like to see more completions happen out of it, because in the beta, you just didn't really see a completion happen out of the throw out of sack, you know, mechanic really often at all. I can maybe count a couple times that I saw that happen, as opposed to seeing tons of interceptions and tons of just bad passes. So doesn't sound like they're changing that. They're going to leave it kind of how it was in the beta. So now it just seems like that's another thing that's up to us to have to decide, do we want to take the sack or try to force that ball out, knowing that it's a good chance it could get picked off. Now, face of the franchise, he spoke on briefly, mainly, you know, nothing that we didn't already know, but he kind of really reiterated the fact that the production value of like the whole thing is much deeper this year. Like last year, we had a little bit of the pre-draft stuff with college. It was fine. It was really quick though. Once we got to the NFL, it was boring. It was back to the same old just player lock franchise that we've had for the last, I don't know, 6-7 years. It wasn't nothing good there. So he did touch on how obviously the high school portion is there. You still have college, a little bit more college than last year, but he said throughout all phases, the production value and the cinematics and the storylines have been balanced throughout the whole thing. So it's not that you're just getting top heavy or like the preloaded stuff, and then once you get to the NFL, it's the same experience as you've been having for the past 6 to 7 years. He said now in the NFL, those dynamic storylines and cinematics are going to carry through the NFL too. He already said that, but just kind of reiterating that it's a lot deeper of an experience than it was last year. I'm interested to see how it plays this year, because I was very disappointed and let down in it last year. I thought last year they sold it to be a lot better than it actually was. So I'm still skeptical this year. I'm thinking, hey, they're probably doing the same thing. They're probably overselling it. So I want to see just how actual in-depth the NFL portion is. I know the pre-draft stuff will be fine. You'll have good storylines, good little activities and stuff to do. I want to see the NFL, because if the NFL portion is not immersive and like in-depth and have those cinematics and storylines, nobody's going to want to play it, because it's just going to be the same boring thing that we've gotten used to. Now, let's get into franchise mode, which I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting to hear. So, this was his exact quote as it relates to franchise mode. He said, he spoke on the video that he did about a week ago that they posted on Twitter, where he said, you know, we hear you guys, and, you know, we're going to be making changes to support not only Madden franchise for the next few years, yada yada, but even Madden 21. And I said, well, what can they really do for Madden 21? The game's already done. They could do some patch stuff post-launch, but in my mind, they can't do anything too significant, because most of the significant features would take a lot of time to put together, and at least that's how I see it. But this is what he said. He kind of just wanted to reiterate on some things. He said, what I said at the time is that we hear you. We're working on basically some features and new things that we will share as we head into the launch window, both for our live services, which is continuous development for Madden 21 through title updates, and long-term roadmap for Madden 22 and beyond. It's still too early to get into specifics on that, but it's something for franchise fans to look forward to in the coming weeks. So he's basically saying a whole bunch of nothing while saying a little bit of something, if that makes sense. He keeps reiterating there's going to be some type of a post-launch support for Madden 21, but he's also saying in a few weeks we're going to actually hear some of the, not only what they plan to do post-launch for franchise in 21, but the roadmap for 22. And that is what people need to hear, and that's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear that you hear them, that you're going to support it. We heard last year, you know, hey, we're recommitting the franchise, and then we saw what happened for Madden 21. Nothing's there. So a roadmap is definitely the next step that people want. They want to know, what are the plans? What are you bringing us? We want to know, I mean, I'm not saying we, because I'm not a franchise player, but I'm speaking we as, you know, just part of the community, you know, want to know, what is that roadmap for 22, and let us know now, because if you have plans of something that we're not even interested in, we can let you know that now and say, no, this is what we really need and want. It's early. This is what you should work on. Don't waste time working on this yet. But we need to see the plan laid out, at least, because at least that shows, okay, here's a step. We've thought about it. This is what we plan to do for next year. But most importantly, what are you going to do this year? What are you going to do post-title update? They said in the launch window, which is like the next few weeks, you know, leading up to the actual release of the game, they're going to be telling you their plans for 21 and 22. So I'm curious to see that. You know, when they drop it, I'll have it for you guys, whatever they're going to say. But, you know, keep pushing the fix Madden franchise, because at least it seems to be working at least a little bit right now. Next step is seeing what that actual plan looks like. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Just a little bit of tidbits of information that were dropped that I wanted to make sure you guys were up to date on. Subscribe if you're new, and as always, I will see you guys next time.